The 2025 NFL offensive line rankings from PFF. So I've been waiting for this one to come out. So PFF does their unit rankings for each position group. We looked at their linebackers, and now they're on offensive line. So offensive line is already very difficult to judge because a lot of the statistics for what you would deem successful for an offensive line are kind of hard to see, right? Like the first thought is, well, sacks, right? They don't give up a lot of sacks. Well, without context, you don't know if a sack is a quarterback problem or an offensive line problem or whatever. You know, their scheme, that plays a huge role into what you're doing as an offensive line. And then you have the individual players, right? Like Trent Williams for the 49ers is an A++++ 100 grade player, but that doesn't make the San Francisco offensive line good, right? So the Saints are a tricky beast because if you look at their metrics, they're not good, but none of it really matters because a lot of the players that did those metrics aren't there anymore, right? So like sacks is a great example again. It's hard to ding the Saints on sacks when you're talking about a revolving door at left guard and center. Trevor Penning is playing right tackle. It's Clint Kubiak's system. Oh, and it's a combination of Jake Haener, Derek Carr, and fifth-round rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler. So you have to all of a sudden put these pieces together of, okay, who's playing quarterback? Who's even on the offensive line when these metrics are parsed out? Who's the quarterback? Who's the defense? What's going on here? What's the game state, right? So you take all that, and then you add in this year, right? Because most rankings like this are predicated on the previous season statistics. You look at this year for the Saints. The line is totally different. Right, you got Taliese Fuaga swings over to right tackle. You have Kelvin Banks, top 10 pick, but he's playing left tackle. So already we have two unknowns. Then you have Trevor Penning at left guard. So you got to take all those Trevor Penning metrics, throw those out the window because he was playing right tackle. So now he's playing guard. Might as well be a rookie as far as like the metrics. Erik McCoy is now your center. Well, he was hurt last year. So any metric you have from the center position last year, throw that out. All right. Oh, and it's a new system. Now you have Kellen Moore replacing Clint Kubiak. Insanely difficult to figure out where to place this team. So we'll take a look at all of it.
The Saints at 22. I don't know. To me, this is, again, it's a lot of just hoping it's going to be a lot different than it was last year. And there's reason to believe that it could, but
it kind of has to be because of what I just laid out. And that starts the conversation. That starts almost every single conversation about the Saints is there's reason to believe it'll be different. And then you look around and you're like, well, yeah, hell yeah. What do you mean? The entire thing is different. All 5 positions is different. The coach is different. The scheme is different. Everything's different. You know, like, yeah, there are absolutely reasons to believe that it will be different. Now, that doesn't mean you can just say, oh, well, they're a top 10 unit. We have no idea, right? No clue. I think 22 is pretty safe where they had them. But just like everything else with this team, I think you got to put a big time asterisk that it's 22 with a chance to be 14 or 13 or 12 or whatever. Like the range is insane for this team because we don't even know how the system's going to look, much less the individual players, much less the position group as a whole.
I would have still had New Orleans lower than this. You could say to yourself, well, Trevor Penning's going to be on the interior now, so it's all going to be it's all good to go. Is it? Maybe it will be, but I don't think that's a big time guarantee. And for as much as I like Kelvin Banks Jr., for 2025 specifically, he's still a rookie. Rookie left tackle starting in the NFL. That's just it's a tough gig for how good these pass rushers are nowadays. And so I'd have New Orleans a little bit lower, but I could see the reason for optimism. Are you a little bit higher on them than I am?
Well, like he just said, with the interior, it's not just Penning. Like, yeah, Penning moving to guard is sweet, but all of a sudden, like, it's a domino effect, right? Because Penning's not just moving to guard, but you're also moving Fuaga to right tackle because you have Banks. So now you go from Fuaga Penning to, well, the tackle positions are probably good. You know one's good. And then one, you have a top 10 pick. So you would assume it's going to be good. But then you go back to the interior, Erik McCoy's there. Erik McCoy, I think, was the 5th ranked center on Pro Football Focus. So when you're talking about the upgrade, and I've said this all offseason, when you're talking about, well, the Saints didn't get new players, the Saints didn't get this, the Saints didn't get that. Okay, well, they have a top 5 center playing now. Before, they had people who were selling cotton candy playing center. That's an enormous upgrade that we're not really quantifying because it's not a quote-unquote new player. It's not a quote-unquote free agent or trade acquisition or draft pick or whatever. All right, so it's not just Penning. It's the fact that now, yes, Penning is in probably a better spot for him, but McCoy, Banks, Fuaga. And do not underestimate how important it is for Cesar Ruiz that Erik McCoy's there. And Erik McCoy is directing the show.
I could reason with 22 because if Erik McCoy comes back healthy, that makes a big difference. Really, when he got hurt is when it really started to go downhill last year. So McCoy is really good when he's healthy. Ruiz at right guard is good enough. I think Taliese Fuaga is going to benefit from going back to his natural position. Not that he was bad at left tackle last year, but moving back to the right side is really going to help him. And I like Kelvin Banks. I think he's going to have a solid rookie season and develop from there. He's a really good athlete, as you know. I think he's going to be able to make the adjustment. So left guard's a huge question. Is it going to be Trevor Penning? Is it going to be, I think they have Dylan Radins. Is it going to be somebody else that emerges at that spot? Sure, but at least we know for a fact who 4 of their 5 starters are, and some of these teams below them, we can't even say that for sure. And if McCoy is healthy, I think they'll be a lot better on the interior because when he got hurt last year.
Yeah, I mean, and he said it well where, like, take the Penning thing and just, put it to the side. You got 4 starters. And yeah, you can say, okay, Kelvin Banks is an unknown, whatever, but there are a lot of teams where it's like, man, this is kind of a patchwork job. Like, we're not sure who's playing here. We're not sure who's playing there. To know, if nothing else, you're good at center, right guard, right tackle. And one of the question marks is the 9th overall pick, who was the best lineman in college, who won the, award winning, you know what I mean? So I honestly think you can pretty much say 4 out of the 5 positions for the Saints will be playing at an above average to elite level because we know Erik McCoy's elite. And if you have 4 out of 5 offensive linemen playing at an above average to good to great to elite level, that's pretty damn sporty. That's really good. And then you start factoring in like scheme. You start factoring in, okay, well, what if Banks is really good? What if he's Joe Alt? What if he's one of these rookies who is like, damn, he might just be the best lineman in the game? All of a sudden, then this completely changes the offensive line, and that's when this jumps to, they're a top 10 unit, and it can happen.
That's when it really started to fall apart.
We've talked plenty about what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done at a lot of different.
All right, so there you go. Let's take a look at some other stuff here. So this is the PFF. Wait, no. This is who is this? Pro Football Network. Okay, this is Pro Football Network. What is this? PFSN? What's going on here? I don't even know. But this is their ranking. Okay, and they do like a similar. It's not DVOA, but it's like, what do they call it? OL plus. So it combines pressure and sack rate stats with time to throw data to build a profile of an offensive line's performance in various situations. Then they sprinkle in pass block and run block win rate, and that's how they do it. So it's just a proprietary blend. They have the Saints at 24. Okay, now remember how I said most of these like data banks are predicated on previous year statistics. So this really does, like, the regular season grade really doesn't matter that much. It would matter if it was the same. It would matter if it was all the same players and the same system and the same everything. That would be bad news. So they're 24. Injuries decimated the Saints offensive line at times this year, and it showed repeatedly. Every time you looked up, it felt like New Orleans was changing something up front, making continuity impossible. Trevor Penning and Taliese Fuaga played most snaps, but only Cesar Ruiz played more than 60% of the interior snaps. The Saints made a huge move to change that in 2025, choosing Texas offensive lineman Kelvin Banks. It's the second straight year the Saints have gone offensive line in the first round. Saints ranked 29th over the last 4 weeks of the season with no single week grading out better than a C. They went 0-4 in that stretch, but that's not all on the line. The offense was made up of rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler and a group of largely 10th choice skill position players. Given the circumstances of their season, the Saints stats are acceptable. It's hard to be much more effusive in praising the unit than that, but credit is due for not completely crumbling. So this is kind of the same philosophy of a lot of the stuff that I've been saying this offseason, where the fact that the Saints last year are not grading out at 32 or 31 or 30 or 29 and all of these different stats is a testament to this team. We should be 32nd in everything across the board because of who we had on the field. Our wide receiver group should be 32nd or whatever, but they were not. They did not finish there. And that's crazy. And that shows how good some of these players are and how good the system was. The fact that Spencer Rattler, Connor McGovern, Lucas Patrick, Shane Lemieux, Dante Pettis, MVS, Bub Means, Mason Tipton weren't just dead last in all these metrics is crazy. It really is. So this is what I consider the floor. When we're looking at 2025, we're looking at 2026, and people are like, oh, well, the Saints will take a step backwards. How? How could they possibly take a step backwards? They had replacement level players on the field last year, right? So this is the floor, I think, for the offensive line is 20-ish. 22 to 20 is like the floor, okay? Let's see here. Okay, the Saints rank 22nd in pressure rate. That's crazy. Crazy that it wasn't lower. 29th in pass block win rate. Again, with all they've dealt with injury-wise, surprised they weren't worse. Exactly. People who are like, oh, well, the Saints are going to have the worst offensive line in football. It's like we weren't even worse last year, right? Getting Erik McCoy back healthy will help, and with Shane Lemieux and Lucas Patrick potentially heading in free agency, there are opportunities to improve this group in the offseason. Okay. So then if you go to DVOA, now again, this is take it with a grain of salt because none of the players are playing, none of the scheme is different, all that stuff. But the Saints were overall the 22nd offensive line last year. Okay. Now this is where I see this number and I say, well, then we have to be better. So when I see this being 22, to me, we should be in that 20 to 16-ish range with a chance of, damn, Penning's good, damn, Banks is good. Oop, all of a sudden, we're in this top 10 through 14 kind of range. Real quick, so this is PFF's actual write-up. They're 22nd, obviously. The Saints offensive line has plenty of potential. There you go. With 4 former first-round picks in the mix, the unit's best player may be the lone non-first rounder, center Erik McCoy. He earned a 94.4 PFF grade in 2024 across only 293 snaps over 7 games. Penning showed promising signs as a run blocker at right tackle last season, which can help him in his new left guard role. New Orleans is set to start a third straight first-round pick at left tackle in 2025 with rookie Kelvin Banks getting the nod. If he lives up to his draft potential, the Saints' offensive line is immediately closer to the middle of the pack. There you go. There you go. So exactly what I'm saying. If he can play, if Kelvin Banks can play, all of a sudden this number shoots up into that middle of the pack, which is, let's just call it 16 through 14. And then there is potential that some of this stuff works with Penning and Banks and whatever, and then boom, you're right up there. Okay, so I think it's fair though. I think it's a fair grade. I think it's a fair grade. You can't just be like, yeah, this is going to work and this is going to work and whatever. So just for poops and gigs, Eagles 1, Broncos 2, Bills 3, Bears 4. A whole new offensive line over there in Chicago. Colts 5, Tampa 6, Minnesota 7, Atlanta 8. Nobody does less with more than Atlanta. The Jets 9, Chargers 10. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.